I'm joined now by Richard Thomas, who's starring in Incident at Vichy at the Signature Theater. Richard, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so I was looking back on your New York theatrical careers, and this is what I have by Richard Thomas by the numbers. 12 Broadway shows, 9 off-Broadway shows. You perform theater in New York in multiples of 3. That's what I'm
Okay.
getting. And no Arthur Miller. Is this your first Arthur Miller?
First time at Signature Theater and first Arthur Miller play. Yes.
This is exciting.
Very exciting for me.
Did I miss any Arthur Miller at all? Because then I went into TV and filmography, and I didn't see any Arthur Miller.
No, I've missed him, and I'm delighted that this is the play I'm doing of his. I mean, I've had many of his plays I admire very much, but because this doesn't get produced that often, it's exciting to be in this one.
For those not familiar, we're in Vichy, France in 1942, and I believe it's 11 total detainees have been brought into a investigation from the Nazis and the police in France to find out if there are Jews among you.
Right.
You play Prince von Berg.
Yes.
Talk to me a little bit about him.
Well,
Your Royal Highness.
Well, it's very nice to play a prince. My character, Wilhelm Johann von Berg, is an Austrian prince who is not Jewish and who has fled Austria to Vichy because he's been trying to get away from the Nazis, whom he finds repellent. But this is marks the very beginning of the period. It's 1942, I believe, when the Germans did start to impose very quietly the racial laws in Vichy and began to ship Jews, gypsies, all their list of undesirables out of France and into Poland and into the camps. So there's a lot of rumor on stage. Nobody really knows what's happening.
And I think it's your character who turns to everyone and is the first to say, are you guys Jewish? Are you here because you're Jewish?
Excuse me, but they're all talking in code, really. They're actually wondering if there's a crackdown on Peruvians. They're asking each other, are you Peruvian? Because I hear so there's all this code going on. And Prince von Berg is trying to figure out why he's there. And so he just asks them straight out. He says, have you all been arrested for being Jewish? And it's like, the one thing that should not have been said has been said, and it just sort of propels everyone into the, into the debate and into the interactions that they have for the rest of the play.
Pretty bold of Miller.
It's very bold for him to do it, and he's fearless in the way he approaches the themes of identity shame, the shame involved in being a Jew and being persecuted, the passivity involved in certain people who are in the room, the denial of how bad the situation really is that has prevented people from getting out. The inability to see how in small ways we are connected to the great problems of the world, I think is perhaps Miller's overarching theme, and one which I think we can apply assiduously today to our lives, especially those of us who think of ourselves as liberal, humanitarian, tolerant, progressive people in a democratic world, how our lives still in some way are connected to these injustices, these disasters, these crises that we see around us, and for which we have feelings, but about which we don't take action.
Do you relate some of those injustices, some of those world issues today to what you're experiencing with the play?
Well, I think Miller makes it very clear, and he talks about it at the time as being, he would like people who see the play or read the play to think of how we as liberal, non-racist liberals living in New York City or in urban areas are in some way contributing to institutionalized racism, even though we may be volubly against it. What are we buying into? What product are we buying? What landlord are we supporting? What are we doing? One can do this in this day and age in terms of how we use energy, in terms of how we how we relate to our neighbors in an urban area, like, for instance, if we're living in New York City, and this sense of responsibility, which is a word that appears very early in the play and is sort of dismissed as, well, whatever that means, comes to be more and more and more important as the play goes on, until we realize that that we all bear responsibility for the state of the world, and that we all of us are part of the duality that creates a self and an other, and that creates these problems. And that we have to find out where we plug into that, and that the only thing that really matters ultimately is action.
There's been a lot of associating this play over the years to Hannah Arendt's theory of the banality of evil, but I think this play, goes further, and Arthur goes further. It's not banal. It's gross. It's indecent. And if something isn't done, no matter how people feel, we all suffer.
Well, I agree. And von Berg, my character, does argue with one of the men, one of the detainees who's a socialist, who is arguing that that the working class will overthrow National Socialism because this is the historical imperative, and that it's against the interests ultimately of the working class, and so they will restore it. And my character has to explain to him how 90% of the Nazis in Germany are working class people who adore Hitler, who see in him a god, a way out of economic troubles, and a re-emergence of a strong, unified, and powerful German state. So it's not sufficient, I think, in terms of Miller's brief. It's not sufficient to comfort oneself with the larger tides of history. One has to find the specifics of one's own life in relation to these things.